Hello, Taurus North Nodes. Welcome back to another contemplation on the Taurus North Node and largely the Scorpio South Node, the Scorpio shadow. We are going to dive into it yet again, and it has really been on my mind a lot. And I think for me personally, I could see where my life is requiring that I sort some things through that fall into Scorpio shadow right now. But I also think that there's something much larger that is clearly, I mean, Jupiter's in Taurus. And Uranus is in Taurus. So like all of that energy is opposing everything that everyone has natally in Scorpio. So like we are all kind of like the North Node, South Node, but really this is more for people with natal placements in Scorpio. This Taurus energy, the Uranus and Jupiter that are transiting, is really doing a number on all natal Scorpio energy. And so those of us with that kind of thing going on, it's like we are having these wake-up calls that are bringing us face to face with our fears. It's like your worst nightmare come to life. And everyone's going to have their own experience of that, okay? And I want to say that, for me personally, a lot of my fears are in a psychic realm where, worst case scenario, my worst fears or whatever, it's, more about opening myself up to, interior, internally into myself. So, there's a lot more going on the internal world for me personally than there is manifesting and materializing on the external world, although I can see little threads that are really beginning to show themselves as far as renegotiating power in relationships and being able to stand in your power and say, what we've got going on so far, not going to work for me. So here's how we're going to change it. And I look forward to doing this, here's what we're going to do. And to have the clarity and the strength to be able to know what you want and own what you want is really what the Taurus North Node is ultimately pointing towards. But as you think about, that being the new territory with the North Node there, I mentioned there's a range of how this could be manifesting. And thank you so much to the subscriber who brought it to my attention that Israel as a nation, if you look at their chart, I'm going to put it on the screen here so you can see, Israel has their North Node in Taurus, their South Node in Scorpio. So even as a nation, they can manifest an experience for themselves of their worst fears coming true, of conflicts coming to a head, of enemies that are aggressive towards them, that are threatening their security, their existence even. I mean, it's a terrifying position to find yourself in the physical, and that's really what clicked it all together for me as far as Scorpio South Node in general and what that work really is. Because I think it essentially boils down into you're conquering fear. You're part of the soul group. If you're South Nodes in Scorpio, you're part of the soul group that is here to teach us how to conquer fear. Right? And that doesn't mean that you annihilate fear. It still exists. It's gonna exist. It's part of the biological wiring of this human vessel. It's inescapable, and that's good because it saves our freaking life, okay? It's good for our survival that we have fear. Healthy fear will prolong our survival. And with the South Node in Scorpio, the shadow side of Scorpio is that you take it too far. That endless shades of gray, the psychic awareness that you do have that can lead to, you know, like the darkest part of the human experience. And I personally believe that when we're going to go there, as far as, you know, the darkest part of the human experience, Scorpio representing the full range of the human experience, including both the darkest part and the lightest part. But if we are going to go full out Scorpio shadow, what does that look like? It looks like violence against your fellow humans, you know, like, and really Scorpio has many thresholds to it, as far as like that being the darkest is when you're actively taking action to commit violence against another person. But even in that Scorpio shadow, I laugh because I'm a little bit uncomfortable because like this got really intense, but I mean, this is what we need to hear. Is like earlier on than the violence, there's vengeance, there's like wanting vengeance, there's wanting revenge, there's feeling wronged, feeling like your security is not guaranteed, your safety is at risk. And what I'm putting out there in this video and what I believe is that fear is driving all of that. Fear that I'm not safe drives us to violence against others. And that fear of I'm not safe does not have to be something that's fully conscious. Like, it would be totally possible for that fear to be unconsciously driving someone, and then for them to say, like, I feel totally safe. What the hell are you talking about? And it's like, dude, like, I mean, sure, in your conscious mind, you feel totally safe because you're in denial. Denial is more than just a river in Egypt. Like, denial is a powerful force. Denial is a powerful form of self-protection. Before we're ready to experience something, we keep ourselves in denial of it. Therefore, we don't allow ourselves to experience it. And that is for the health and well-being of our psyche. If our psyche was strong enough to withstand experiencing it, we would be. So there's a lot of healing that has to happen. Little by little by little by little, we heal our pain inside of ourselves. We heal the wounds inside of ourselves, inside of our own psyche. We heal those tender spots. And as we do, and as there is less pain going on within us, there is, sounds terrible, you guys, like, I feel you on this. Like, as there's more space inside of you because there's less pain, it's like, you know what happens next? The deeper stuff can start to surface. It's like, just when you think like, wow, I'm really healed, it's like, great, now you're ready for like what's really been eating at you this whole time. And in my experience, this was in May of 2023. And long story short, I experienced in this guided meditation what felt like and what I called a crescendo of safety. I had never felt so physically safe and secure in my body, like comfortable in my skin, comfortable in myself, like I was inhabiting myself, not on guard, just being there. More than ever in my entire life, this crescendo of safety where what it brought me, that safety and that stillness of my energy, what it brought me was the space to witness the true pain that had been basically like the initial wound that set me into that defensive posture. And then as I met other ones throughout my life, my defensiveness provoked their treatment, which led to more wounding. And now I'm even more in pain, and now I'm even more defensive, and now this defensive is even more triggering to this person. Like, the wounding stacked on top of wounding, on top of wounding, on top of wounding. And when we start our healing journey, we start at the top of the pile. We start at like, what is the easiest slash like lowest hanging fruit, pain, to clear out of our grid, to process it, integrate it, release whatever waste from that experience, like we're not going to integrate as far as a lesson learned. And that's really, I think, how we heal in the long run, is we allow our emotions to come up, like the Cancer energy being the beginning of feeling. We can't heal it if we can't feel it. So that full range Scorpio energy of like the full range of the human experience, the first step is to allow your internal self, your internal feelings to emerge and be expressed and be exactly what they are. And that might look like lots and lots and lots of hours of scream crying, you know, or crying so hard like no sound is coming out and your face is all red because you're not even breathing. You're just like heaving in the exquisite misery of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you do. You can just satiate in that exquisite misery. I know I've done that. But that was back when being depressed was like my normal, and I kind of liked it there. Like, you know, lonely is my favorite place to be, that sort of thing. That's a song if you dig that vibe. I still listen to that song sometimes because there's like a nostalgia for the pain I was in, the emotional pain I was in of all those years of chronic depression, existential depression, really, because I was trying to run the rat race and I'm like, why am I so miserable? It's like, cuz you're living a life devoid of soul, and that's why your soul feels devoid. Okay, great. Glad we got that cleared up. Let me pause here and take a breath. So back to what I'm saying as far as like fear being the main event for a Scorpio South Node is, you know, conquering fear. And this, another piece that clicked in along with the subscriber who told me that Israel's North Node is in Taurus. Yesterday, suddenly, I was very called back to Gene Keys, and I left off in my contemplation series at the sphere of evolution. So that's like only 2 steps into the path, and then I like leave it for 7 months because of all of the things that were coming up and out because of that crescendo of safety, because of the Gene Keys is essentially this idea that inside every shadow there's a gift. And so the whole point is to look at your shadow and love it. You know, look at your shadow and be like, oh, you're so sweet. You're so cute. Look your fear in the face and be like, you're adorable when you snarl like that, you know? So Gene Keys is very liberating to our shadows. And a few months, right, after I start that Gene Keys series of like really diving back into the shadows with this newfound love for them, it was a few months after that that I had this crescendo of safety. And it was in that space that some of the worst pain came up and came out. I mean, it was the root of my mother wound. It was the root of my father wound. It was the root of the interesting dynamics between me and my brothers. It was the root of the beginning of all the relationship dynamics that have ever played out in my entire life. And it was these experiences starting when I'm like 2 years old and continuing clear through my upbringing that I had just like normalized them. It's not that I had repressed them per se, other than the feelings of them. Like, I knew that they happened. I wasn't connected to the feeling of the event at all. It was part of my like normal childhood. Like, I had a pretty okay childhood, you know? And not that I didn't, but there's some footnotes, that some exceptions to that rule, some programming that my parents were carrying, unconscious programming like we all have, that spilled over and imprinted onto me and became my programming. And, you know, like when it's our programming, it's so normal that it's really hard to even see that something's not right because you don't know any different kind of thing. Like it got in you so early that like you don't have consciousness before that. There's only that wound and that pain kind of thing. So like, yes, my upbringing all the way to like kind of my late 20s was extremely painful, but it was also normal. It was also like where like that's just what life was. Like there wasn't anything else to compare it to kind of thing. And it was only when I had healed for nearly 7 years of daily self-care led me to that moment with the guided meditation, with the crescendo of safety, where like my true pain could even start to surface. Okay. And now, like since May, so another 5 months of once those wounds came up, again, like I thought, like I described it as like it feels like I'm giving birth to a Buick, to try to let this pain come up and out and to like really feel it and really give it space. Like I had to get so much bigger to be able to breathe around the intensity of the pain. And I did. It took me months, but I did. And as that pain came up and as I got to witness it, as I got to express it, as I felt it and I cried it and I cried those tears and I held those little girl versions of myself that like absolutely didn't fucking deserve to be treated like that. But we can't change that. We can only be our own angel and like go back and like send love and strength to her heart from where we are now so that she can make it to where we are now. I believe that like I survived what I did for a reason. I'm still here for a reason. And a lot of it is because of the support that I'm now giving my inner child. I always felt protected as a kid. Like I have so many different stories of like close calls where something almost terrible happened. It was terrible, but it almost happened to me. Almost over and over and over and over. So like I just could see it's like there's this like bubble around me that just like keeps me safe. But inside the bubble, it was really, really painful, But now what I thought was the Buick was like, oh my gosh, like that's it. That's the root of the thing. And then what was able to come out like after that is like more wounding and more wounding and more wounding, that like it was the process of healing and the process of feeling your pain that you have stored in your body. Like, I don't know if I can even say at this point that like, okay, I got the root of it. Like, I think I've seen it so many times where I thought I was at the root, and getting that root only just like cleared that part away. And then there's a whole nother thing underneath there, and then once you get that one, like you're at the root, that just clears that away. And then there's a whole nother thing underneath there. And I know that's not the most encouraging message of like, oh shit, it's never going to end. But it is, because it's normal. It's normal for Scorpio South nodes to spend a lifetime excavating your own personal pain and fear. The fear that comes from the pain that you're experiencing, and to, again, like conquer this by understanding the relationship between pain and fear, because really it's when we push away pain that fear isn't even able to exist. Okay, so there's like an acceptance of fear gets to exist. Pain gets to exist. Like when we're talking about the superpower of that Scorpio South node being that you have access to the full range of the human experience, the darkest of the dark, the lightest of the light. Pain is part of the human experience. Fear is part of the human experience. The only way fear perpetuates itself is when we're afraid of it. When we're afraid of fear, it is stagnant. It is completely stuck. It's a stuck part of our aura. It influences everything around us. And so building a relationship with fear that lets you see that like really fear comes from pain, and pain comes from wounds that haven't healed yet. So when you're afraid, it's an invitation to heal. It's not an invitation to like push this away, slam the door in its face, like get the fuck out, you're not welcome here. Like that Scorpio South node has to embrace the full spectrum of the human experience, the darkest of the dark and the lightest of the light. And the more you open up and accept pain, that's where ecstasy comes from. Okay, and I'm not talking about a pill that you take. I'm talking about like what your physical body is capable of. When you allow for the dark, the light opens up. It's pushing away pain and fear that keeps you at that center of the spectrum. It keeps the light blocked off and it keeps the dark blocked off. You know, it's when we embrace pain that you can really start to experience pleasure. Yeah, and that's what the Taurus North Node wants. It wants you to be at peace. It wants you to feel as good as you can possibly feel, like literally ecstatic in your body. If you can get there, that's the goal. To love yourself so powerfully that you can generate overflowing ripples of appreciation and abundance coming from the core of your being. Like that's ultimately what the Taurus North Node wants. And then it's like back on the other end, wave after wave after wave of pain manifesting itself as fear. So fear after fear after fear popping its head up in your reality to test your acceptance of the full range of the human experience. Can you go there? Can you say that everything that the human experience is divine? You know, nothing exists in the physical that doesn't serve a purpose. So what is this pain? What is this fear? What do I do with this? How do I allow this to serve me? And allowing yourself to build a relationship with your fear that allows it a place at the table, allows it a place in the process. You know how to integrate it when it pops its head up. You know how to take it by the hand and follow it deeper into yourself, down into a layer of wounding that maybe you don't even know about yet. You know, like there's always more to heal. And I will say this as well, as far as like that Scorpio sign being a water sign, there's an incredible depth of psychic sensitivity also possessed in the Scorpio South Node, the Scorpio shadow. It's like almost to, like when you're in the Scorpio shadow, it's like to your detriment. Like you cannot even get to the 3D earth realm because you're so lost in psychic land, like in the other dimensions, in other information that you're picking up on, not with your physical senses. It's like hard to see past it sometimes, see past like the information that your emotions are bringing you. So when I say psychic sensitivity, I mean, you know, you're receiving information far beyond your own physical life experience. And, you know, again, that's just normal. That's just like, that's not going to change. Like Scorpio South Node, you are made of water. You are built as a psychic antenna. That's just facts, okay? So it's really about how are you relating to what's coming through there. And your relationship to fear will guide that process. Like again, the better you are at fear and pain, having a relationship with those, like one of my favorite mantras that I absolutely love, I feel like it's life-changing, is pain is temporary. Pain is temporary. Pain is temporary. Pain is temporary. So like you smash your finger, you stub your toe, instantly, pain is temporary, and you watch it fade. The moment of impact, the first rush through your system is the worst. That's the worst part. So as soon as you are aware of the pain, it's already fading, and it's for you to watch it fade. And then assess what damage is done and what healing needs to happen. And you know, that's where that version of the relationship to pain, that's really where you've harnessed the best of the best of what Scorpio has to offer. And you are also balancing that with the groundedness of pain is temporary. The reality of pain is temporary. If you go on the Taurus North Node end, like, you know, pain is only ever right now. And again, like, in the next now, it's less. And in the next now, it's less. And in the next now, it's less. And maybe it takes 5 minutes to go away completely. Maybe it takes a year to go away completely. But like, if you will watch it fade with a mantra like pain is temporary, being with it and breathing around it, being big enough to breathe around it, is a lot more possible, a lot more accessible. So then, yeah, coming back to your psychic sensitivity and this idea that there's always more to heal, the truth is that yes, within yourself, there's always more to heal, and that through your psychic sensitivity, that quite possibly, like, you're picking up on the collective energies. You're picking up on the pain and the fear that's happening in the collective. So what happens when that happens, what happens when the collective's energies are coming into your being, is that essentially they shine a spotlight on your own healing journey. And mostly the collective fear, the collective pain, it will aggravate your own fear and your own pain. And so how do you heal the collective is you heal and soothe that aggravation that's happening in your own pain, in your own fear. You heal that to where you can look at the world, you can look at what they're doing out there, and it doesn't aggravate your pain and fear. Or if it does, you're accepting of that. You're accepting of that and allowing that to exist. You're not pushing it away. You're being with it. You're witnessing it. That's possible. That's possible. And when we're in that expression, we're able to create peace. We're able to go to the Taurus North Node side of what do I value most? What do I truly want? And we're able to plant ourselves wherever we want. And it's when we don't have a well-established relationship with our own pain that when we're in pain, the fear rises, right? Of like, this is hurting me, this is threatening me, this is not allowing me to do what it is that I need to be doing. It's at that point when we start plotting our revenge. We start plotting violence against the people who are bringing us this pain, or so we're perceiving. That's what we're projecting, is that they are the cause of our pain. And that's just never fucking true, okay? Because people are a mirror. So anything that they are bringing up inside of you, anything that they are aggravating inside of you, is your own wounding. So again, I think absorbing the collective energies, I think there's some spiritual bypassing that can happen with like, this isn't mine, you know, like this is the collective fear. This isn't my fear. And I think if you're feeling it, it's your fear. Okay. And it might have come out of the collective. It might be more intense right here, right now, because the collective is really feeling it. And so, yeah, it's like more inescapable for you right now because of the collective, but it's still yours to heal. And I think of the Scorpio South Node as kind of like a scrubber in the environment that is cleansing fear out of it. You know, like fear sits in our 3D world. Like, you know, if you can see it, it's like this black fog between everything that puts people in this delusion. They can't really see reality. All they have is this black fear, darkness around them. And that's a lot of people in the 3D. And Scorpio South Node, because you are willing to see the fear and embrace it into the light of your being, to allow it to exist, to accept it in your love, the love of the God self that you are, that is the root of your soul. You accept fear into that, therefore illuminating it, giving it a place in the world, and you light yourself up a little bit more every single time you do that. And so in this 3D world, there are people who are shining. They're shining. They're not, they're starting to like push back the fear, push back the darkness that is in the 3D still, but their light just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it does, the darkness recedes a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You know, I picture like 100 years from now, and probably there will still be plenty of fear on the planet, but so many more people will be shining so much more brightly to where there are so many more illuminated spaces in the 3D. That is very much where we are headed. And you guys, Scorpio South Node, this Scorpio shadow that we are facing together in the collective right now, is not because the transit is there necessarily, but like it is activated. And I don't know exactly what to point to, but it's activated right now, the Scorpio shadow. So all of us together are feeling more fear. We are facing those fears more than we have in the past. We are still feeling somewhat held back from facing those fears even more full out. And any of that hesitation is really, again, like the place where your healing journey continues. I also would like to close with another of my favorite mantras, I guess you can call it. Like, it's more of a realization that I've had repeatedly through facing many fears in my life. And every time I do something that I'm scared to do, I walk out on the other side and the same exact thought occurs to me over and over and over. And I wonder if you know, if already in your head what it is, but testing that psychic sensitivity that you've got. That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. We cause so much pain for ourselves by pushing away things that aren't as bad as I thought it would be. Like when we finally just let it sit at the freaking table, like you find out like, oh, it actually has really good information and none of the, pieces that we were so afraid of before, that we were like pushing it away because what if this, what if this, what if this, what if this, like our ability to allow whatever is to be and to look at it and face up to it, that is part of that Scorpio superpower. It's like the courage and the iron stomach that it takes to look at the full range of the human experience is not ever to be underestimated. And that's maybe one reason why the universe created this space, as far as like us talking about the Taurus North Node over and over and over. I'm pretty positive that Taurus North Node video going viral, as far as any video I've ever had, it has 35,000 views, which is a shit ton for my channel. And I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I'm still even doing YouTube at this point and never got discouraged, never gave up, because the universe like put that video in front of, I think it has like 10,000 watch hours and it's only like an hour and a half long. 10,000 hours that people spent watching that. And because of that response, it led to more North Node content. Because of that response, it made me really, really, really open and receptive about the upcoming, at the time, Aries North Node journey. And what was that shadow? What's that North Node? And that was kind of the path that I went down to like specialize my channel into North Node content, and specifically Taurus North Node content. Like, I'm not exclusively doing that, but there's definitely more for you guys here than there are, probably the most for Aries North Node and Taurus North Nodes, like because that's where the transits have been while I've been doing this. Like you guys definitely have the most content, which reminds me, you can always check out the links in the description box. There's a playlist for every single nodal group. To be able to find any of the messages, any of the content I've ever done specifically for your nodal group, whether that is Taurus North Node or you're here because you're working on your Scorpio shadow and you want to listen to one of the other ones. You can also take those playlists and think like, okay, so let's say you have an Aquarius North Node, but it's in the 10th house. Aquarius normally being associated with the 11th house. So you might want to watch your Aquarius North Node material, but you might also consider watching the Capricorn North Node material, which matches your 10th house, Capricorn in the 10th house. So feel free to explore those as much as you want. I also listed some placements in the description box that may also really resonate with the Scorpio shadow. And you can basically take any of those and say like, okay, well, I think if you've got a Scorpio moon, you probably would get a lot out of doing your Scorpio shadow work, that kind of thing. So it's like, all right, well, my moon's in Leo, so go check out the Leo shadow stuff. Like, probably you can resonate with that too. There's a lot of different ways where looking at these shadows can be really helpful, and really we all are all 12 of them. So I think mostly it's about timing. It's about like which shadow is calling you right now, and that may be the one of your north node. It may be one of the other ones, you know, like you just never know until you get in there and see like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Where I am channeling these from the mermaid portal, where I bring through exactly what wants to come through, and we spend as much time as it takes to bring it through. Yeah, I mean, I think there's really good chance that based on timing, there could be perfect messages for every single person on every single playlist. It just is a matter of which one are you ready to hear right now. Dear friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me some more. I really appreciate that. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel if you like North Node content, authenticity content, shadow work content. That's what we're doing over here. Would love to have you as part of this community. And let me know what else you want me to talk about as far as the Scorpio shadow goes, because I think there's so much depth in every single one of these shadows that, I mean, I feel like we've only begun to scratch the surface. So I definitely appreciate your comments and sharing your reflections as far as how all of this lands for you. And if it brings anything up that like you would like me to go a little bit deeper into, I can't ever promise that it'll be like a super quick turnaround, but as I'm called to talk about things, I would love to get some topics out of the comments as far as what else you would like to see. Again, thank you so much, and until next time, take really, really good care of your very precious self, and so will I.